by the rivers of Babylon. Yeah, we sat down and we cried when we remembered Jerusalem. We were sick, Lord, near to dying. Oh,
Shalom, shalom, family. Welcome to another Bible class, a Bible study. My name is Uziel Lewy, one of the teachers of Congregation Beit CHOKMAH BINAH, located in the Red Hook section of Brooklyn, New York, giving up all honor, glory, and praise to the Most High God, King of the universe, Yehovah Zebaot, for life, food, clothing, and shelter, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, giving all praises to his high and holy name, and asking that the Most High God will continue to watch over us, guide and protect us, and keep us. That the Most High God be with all those who are sick, the destitute, the poor, the needy, the fatherless, the widow. That the Creator will continue to bless all those who call upon his name, all those at the sound of my voice who are listening here on this stream, praying that the Most High God be with you all, guide and protect you, that he continue to bless you with health and wealth and all the things desirable in your mind and righteousness, that the Creator will continue to bless each and every one of you, and that the Creator will continue to be with all those who are going through any type of mourning at this time, who might have lost a loved one, praying that the Most High God will strengthen your soul, your mind, that the Most High God will strengthen your spirit, praying that the Most High God be with those who might be going through any type of financial hardship, that the Most High God would even grant you relief in that, and that the Most High God will bless you in all of your endeavors. Hallelujah. Praying that the Most High God be with us on this day, that the words that come out of our lips may be able to edify someone and not misguide anyone. So I pray that the Most High God will bless myself and the Rabbi Chief Binyamin as we go forth in this lesson, and that the Most High God will bless our words and what we have to say. How y'all doing out there? Thanking the Most High God for life once again. Don't forget, before we get started, to share, like, and subscribe. Don't forget to share the link. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so, because you cannot comment unless you subscribe. You have to be subscribed for at least a week. That means you will have to subscribe this week and then come back next week to leave your comments. But I mean your chat in the chat, to leave your comments in the chat. But you can always leave comments in the video after it is uploaded and it's on YouTube playing. So you could always leave your questions there. We encourage you to bring your questions, and we will answer them in the best way possible for all of you out there. So today we are up to episode number 77, and we will be going through Isaiah chapter 44. And for that, I'm going to turn it over to my brother, Rabbi Chief Binyamin. How are you, Rabbi?
I'm doing good today. Hopefully you are, as well as everybody that's listening this day, giving praise and honor to the Most High for all of our lives and this opportunity that he has given us to call upon his name and to worship before him, and asking that he would guide us, protect us as we go through today's Bible study, that he will enlighten us all. And as was just mentioned, feel free to share on this video. So the entire Bible study that we do every Sunday morning, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern time, with your family and your friends. This is open to all of those who utilize the Bible as the foundation of their belief. So again, just feel free to share again with your family and your friends. Today, we're going to continue on with our discussion of the book of Isaiah, chapters 40 through 66. Today, we are up to chapter 44. And as we're going along, we're just showing how everything is connected. So this is basically the prophetic portion of the book of Isaiah. You have the historical portion of the book of Isaiah, which is chapters 1 through 39, and again, chapters 40 through 66, are what is known as the prophetic chapters, or the prophetic portion of the book of Isaiah. So a lot of the things that we are reading about are things that some of the things have not happened yet, even in our generation. Although some of the things that we will or have read about have already happened, but after the timeline that the prophet Isaiah was living in. So, but we know that the Most High lives forever, his word lives forever, and these are some of the themes that are constantly repeated within these chapters. So we're going to get into our discussion of the day again, Isaiah chapter 44. And again, our goal is to see what the Most High, wants us to see, praying that he would give us the truth of his word so that we would learn to focus our attention upon him and him alone. So in Isaiah chapter 44, started with verse 1. And as we mentioned, even in the previous sessions when we're speaking about this, how everything is all connected, even though there are chapter divisions, that just helps us to find, certain passages, certain quotes, certain prophecies faster with a chapter and verse division. But if you were to take away the chapter and verse divisions and just read everything sequentially, you see that everything is connected. And even when we read about the things in this chapter, we're going to see it's a repetition of the themes that were mentioned in the previous chapters, especially on chapters 42 and 43, as we get into chapter 44, where it mentions here, "Yet now hear, O Jacob, my servant, and Israel, whom I have chosen." And we're just pausing there for a minute as we read all throughout these chapters, that it's repeated over and over again that Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel, is the servant of the Most High God. So you'll see a verse like this in this chapter, as we've seen a verse like this in the previous chapters, where it says that Jacob and Israel are the servants of the Most High, Israel being the nation of Israel at this point, the children of Jacob. Again, Jacob's name was changed to Israel. Jacob, who was the grandson of Abraham, who we read about in the book of Genesis, starting in chapter 11 technically, but whose life we start reading about in detail in Genesis chapter 12. That man Abraham, well, his original name was Abraham, and God changed his name to Abraham. And he had Isaac, and then Isaac had Jacob. And again, as we just mentioned, Jacob's name was changed to Israel. And then Israel, or Jacob, again being the same person, had 12 sons. Each of those sons became the progenitor of a tribe. So that's why we know of the terminology, the 12 tribes of Israel. So the 12 tribes of Israel comprise, or the children of Israel comprise of the 12 tribes together, also known as the nation of Israel. So again, as we just took a pause, just to reiterate that Jacob, also known as Israel, is the servant of God, which is the theme that is repeated all throughout these chapters. And it's consistent all throughout these chapters. And it says, "Thus says Jehovah that made thee and formed thee from the womb, who will help thee. Fear not, O Jacob, my servant, and thou, Jeshurun, whom I have chosen." And pausing here again, just to speak about the convention that we have here for our Bible study, where we mention the name of God in the appropriate places. So in most of our English translations, we will see the words "the Lord" being in all capital letters, or some books is just a capital L. But in the Hebrew text, or the Hebrew manuscript, which is what the majority of the Old Testament, the Holy Scriptures, was written in, you have the name of God in those places. The Hebrew consonants are Yod, He, Waw, He, which corresponds to YHWH in English. So for the purposes of our Bible study, we pronounce the name of God as Yehovah, and many people around the world pronounce the name as Yahweh. And again, we mentioned that, or pronounce his name in the appropriate places, because that is the name of God that is speaking to us within the Bible, and we just want to know the God that we're speaking about and the God that is speaking to us. So he's mentioning that he is the one that formed and made Jacob, made Israel. And also this name, Jeshurun, is sort of what is known as a nickname. It doesn't appear too often in the scriptures, as you know, you see the translation on the right-hand side of your screen. It means upright one. It also, basically, as it says here, is a poetic name of Israel, also a nickname that the Most High gave. And it gives you some of the passages on the bottom right, where they appear in Deuteronomy chapter 32, 15, 33, 5, 33, 26. They're also here in the book of Isaiah, chapter 44, verse 2. So again, I'm just mentioning that it is a poetic name or a nickname that the Most High gave to the children of Israel, and we read within those particular verses. So it says again from verse 2, thus says Jehovah that made thee and formed thee from the womb, who will help thee. Fear not, O Jacob, my servant, and thou Jeshurun, whom I have chosen. For I will pour water upon the thirsty land and streams upon the dry ground. I will pour my spirit upon thy seed and my blessing upon thine offspring. And they shall spring up among the grasses, willows by the watercourses. One shall say, I am Jehovah's, and another shall call himself by the name of Jacob, but another shall subscribe with his hand unto Jehovah, and surname himself by the name of Israel. And these chapters, or these verses here, are speaking about a redemption process for the children of Israel. And as the children of Israel are returning to the Most High God, this is how the process is being done, where the Most High is basically quenching the thirst of the children of Israel via his word. You know, we read in other places in the Bible where there's a lack of knowledge, basically a lack of knowledge of the Most High God among the children of Israel and also even throughout the world. But as the Most High is returning to the children of Israel, is giving the allegory of watering them and pouring the spirit upon them. And that's how they're coming up. And as that process is continuing on, the children of Israel realize that they belong to Jehovah. So this is, again, just reiterating for verse 5, they realize that they belong to Jehovah. And they also will call themselves by the name of Jacob, you know, returning back to the lineage of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And then, you know, as I said, another will subscribe on his hand unto Jehovah. You know, they might have a sign in their hand, you know, the saying, you know, unto Jehovah, and then surname himself by the name of Israel. And you see there are many among the children of Israel that do take on the last name of Israel, or Yisrael, as it is pronounced in Hebrew. Then verse 6, thus says Jehovah, the King of Israel and his Redeemer, Jehovah of hosts, I am the first and I am the last, and beside me there is no God. And who, as I, can proclaim? Let him declare it and set it in order for me. Since I appointed the ancient people, and the things that are coming and that shall come to pass, let them declare. So also in verse 6, where it mentions that, where Jehovah himself says that he is the first and he is the last, and that there is no God beside him. Again, this is a theme that has been repeated from, you know, a lot within these chapters that we are reading here. So it's a theme, of course, throughout the entire Holy Scriptures, but for the purposes of the children of Israel turning away from the Most High God and being sent into captivity, this is a reminder to the children of Israel that Jehovah is the God and there is none else beside him, and that he is the first and he is the last. And that also another theme that's been repeated in the prior chapters is that he's the only one that can tell about future events. And if there are any gods or any nations, and the Most High, you know, Jehovah God put that test out there in the previous chapters, if there's any gods or any nations out there that can foretell future events, let them do so in order to proclaim their truth. And if they're not able to do so, then there is no light in them, where there's no truth within them. So therefore, we could only focus on the one that is able to tell the future. As he mentioned in that verse 6, he is the first and he is the last. So if he's the first and the last, he knows everything past, present, and future. It says verse 8, fear ye not, neither be afraid. Have I not announced unto thee of old and declared it? And ye are my witnesses. Is there a God beside me? Yea, there is no rock, I know not any. They that fashion a graven image are all of them vanity, and their delectable things shall not profit. And their own witnesses see not nor know, that they may be ashamed. For who have fashioned a god or molten an image that is profitable for nothing? Behold, all the fellows thereof shall be ashamed, and the craftsmen skilled above men. Let them all be gathered together, let them stand up. They shall fear, they shall be ashamed together. The smith makes an axe, and works in the coals, and fashions it with hammers, and works it with his strong arm. Yea, he is hungry, and his strength fails. He drinks no water, and is faint. The carpenter stretches out a line, he marks it out with a pencil. He fits it with planes, and he marks it out with the compass, and makes it after the figure of a man, according to the beauty of a man, to dwell in the house. He hews them down cedars, and takes the alex and the oak, and strengthens for himself one among the trees of the forest. He plants a bay tree, and the rain does nourish it. Then a man uses it for fuel, and he takes thereof and warms himself. Yea, he kindles it and bakes bread. Yea, he makes a god and worships it. He makes it a graven image and falls down thereto. He burns the half thereof in the fire. With the half thereof he eats flesh. He roasts and is satisfied. Yea, he warms himself and says, Aha, I am warm, I have seen the fire. And the residue thereof he makes a god, even his graven image. He falls down unto it and worships and prays unto it and says, Deliver me, for thou art my God. So these collections of verses that we just read here is the Most High showing us the process of idol making, the process of people that make gods. And the process is they're using trees or using materials that the Most High, the creator of the heavens and the earth, made. They're using those trees, cutting down the trees. They use a portion of the same tree to burn fuel in order to make bread or to make food. Or when it gets cold, they use a portion of that tree to warm themselves. But also the same tree that they cut down for those purposes that are beneficial for them, they make an idol or make a god to bow down to and ask that God that they made to deliver them. So the Most High is showing us to our face the hypocrisy again of idolatry, that the idols wouldn't be there if mankind didn't make them. So if mankind is making these idols, then mankind is actually God to those idols, as opposed to vice versa. So again, this is the Most High showing the hypocrisy of idolatry to our faces, showing us that, basically there's no power in the hand, or there's no power in idolatry at all. So, that's basically what we get from when we read those prior chapters, that it's the strength of a man to cut down the tree. Again, the strength of a man in order to fashion it, the carpenter, all of those that are able to work the material. And, whether they take gold, whether they take silver, these are all materials from the earth that the Most High that created the heavens and the earth has made, that people are utilizing to make idols and bow down to. And it says, continuing here in verse 18, they know not, neither do they understand, for their eyes are bedaubed, that they cannot see, and their hearts that they cannot understand. And none considers in his heart, neither is there knowledge nor understanding to say, I have burned the half of it in the fire, yea, also have baked bread upon the coals thereof, I have roasted flesh and eaten it, and shall I make the residue thereof an abomination? Shall I fall down to the stock of a tree? So again, that particular verse is encapsulating all of the verses that we read prior, that idol makers or people that worship idols are not considering the fact that the material that was utilized to make the idol was the same material that is used to cook food, the same material that is used to keep an individual warm when it's cold, and they're utilizing what's rest of it, with the rest of it, to make what is known to the Most High God as an abomination. The idol or idolatry is an abomination in the sight of the Most High, and therefore idolatry should be an abomination to us as human beings as well. Because as it mentioned at the end of that verse, an individual is just basically bowing down to the stock of a tree. Because there's idols, especially what was made, in these times, were made out of wood. And what is today made out of gold is the same thing. People are bowing down to material as opposed to a God that actually can save. Because again, those idols were made by human beings. Continuing from verse 20, he strives after ashes, a deceived heart have turned him aside, that he cannot deliver his soul, nor say, is there not a lie in my right hand? Remember these things, O Jacob and Israel, for thou art my servant. I have formed thee, thou art mine own servant. O Israel, thou shouldest not forget me. Again, in that verse, it repeats that Jacob / Israel is the servant of the Most High God twice. We read that in the beginning of the chapter. We read that in the prior chapters, that, again, Jacob / Israel is the servant of the Most High God. And the Most High God is causing the children of Israel to remember all of these things, to consider what he has done on their behalf, and consider what idolatry cannot do. And he says here, and this is something that we read in the previous session in the prior chapter, I have blotted out as a thick cloud thy transgressions, and as a cloud thy sins. Return unto me, for I have redeemed thee. And in the prior chapter, God said that he blotted out or removed the transgressions of Israel for his own sake, not for the sake of Israel, but for his own sake, in order that the children of Israel may return to him and praise him in the sight of the nations. So he repeats it here again, that he's the one that blots out as a thick cloud the transgressions of his servant Israel. Sing, O heavens, sing, O ye heavens, for Jehovah has done it. Shout, ye lower parts of the earth. Break forth into singing, ye mountains, O forests, and every tree therein. For Jehovah hath redeemed Jacob, and does glorify himself in Israel. Thus says Jehovah, thy Redeemer, and he that formed thee from the womb. I am Jehovah that makes all things, that stretch forth the heavens alone, that spread abroad the earth by myself, that frustrates the tokens of the impostors and makes diviners mad, that turns wise men backward and makes their knowledge foolish, that confirms the word of his servant and performs the counsel of his messengers, that says of Jerusalem, she shall be inhabited, and of the cities of Judah, they shall be built, and I will raise up the waste places thereof, that says to the deep, be dry, and I will dry up thy rivers. So this is talking about a time where the children of Israel, being in captivity, the Most High God is speaking concerning Jerusalem, which is, at this time, the capital city, for lack of a better term, of the nation of Israel. It's a city where the house of God that Solomon built is in. And via captivity from Babylon and after, Jerusalem and the surrounding territories, or the surrounding area that the children of Israel were dwelling in, are desolate. But the Most High God is prophesying good things on behalf of the children of Israel, saying that the cities of Judah will be inhabited once again. The prophet Isaiah is prophesying to the southern kingdom of the children of Israel, the southern kingdom also known as Judah. So that's why there is a focus on Judah when we read throughout some of these prophecies, but the Most High God overall focuses on the entire nation of Israel. And it concludes here that says of Cyrus, and we'll speak more about Cyrus. Well, actually, we'll just, because we're concluding with 44. But again, as we speak about these chapters in the Isaiah, some of these chapter divisions don't help, because they break off in the middle of a thought. So like it says here in verse 28, that says of Cyrus. So God is speaking of Cyrus, and Cyrus is not even alive during this time that Isaiah the prophet is prophesying, but the Most High God is speaking about Cyrus, who eventually became king of the Persians via being king of the Medes, but again became king of the Persians once the Medes and the Persians merged together into one kingdom. He says, he is my shepherd and shall perform all my pleasure, even saying of Jerusalem, she shall be built, and to the temple my foundation shall be laid. And then we know through history, based on the history of the generation that we're living in now, and we read this in the book of Ezra, and again, this is historic, that Cyrus, the king of the Persians, he gave word for the children of Israel that were living in the Persian captivity. He gave them the permission to go back into the territories of Judah, go back into Jerusalem, and to rebuild the house of God and to rebuild the city overall. So this is something that's prophetic. Again, a lot of the things that we read here in these chapters, some of the things that we read here have been done already based on the generation that we're living in now. And then we're also going to read some things that have not occurred yet. This is just one of those things that already happened, where King Cyrus came into power being king of the Persians and gave permission to the children of Israel to return to the territory of Judah and rebuild Jerusalem. And we're just going to read the beginning of Isaiah 45, but when we have our next session, we're going to speak more in detail about 45. But this is just to show how everything is connected, where it says in Isaiah 45, verse 1. Thus says Jehovah to his anointed, to Cyrus, whose right hand I have holden, to subdue nations before him, and to loose the loins of kings, to open the doors before him, and that the gates may not be shut. I will go before thee, I will make the crooked places straight. I will break in pieces the doors of brass, and cut in sunder the bars of iron. And I will give thee the treasures of darkness and hidden riches of secret places, that thou mayest know that I am Jehovah, who called thee by that name, even the God of Israel. So basically, the last verse of Isaiah chapter 44 and the first 3 verses of 45 actually go together. And just knowing this here also helps us in the entire package of Isaiah chapters 40 through 66, showing that a lot of these things are connected together, and we should not be thrown off via the chapter breakdowns or some of the verse breakdowns that all occur, because it causes us to think that there's a certain break in thought. But we see here definitely this was a continuation of thought. So as we get into the chapters within this discussion, and this also will apply, and we should also remember that these things will apply. So we've come to the conclusion of our discussion of the book of Isaiah chapter 44. When we return to our session and speak about Isaiah 45, we'll get more in detail about King Cyrus, the history of that, because again, it only started talking about it in 44, and it continued talking about it in 45. So we'll be able to get into it with more detail when we discuss Isaiah chapter 45. But Isaiah chapter 44, in conclusion, is again the Most High God, Jehovah God, speaking to the children of Israel who are his servant. And also the theme of this chapter primarily is the hypocrisy of idolatry, and how idols, false gods, are made by the hands of mankind, utilizing the materials that the Most High God placed on earth in order to fashion these idols, whether it's of trees, whether it's of gold, whether it's of silver, brass, or whatever materials that mankind, whether it's stone, whether it's iron, whatever material that mankind finds that the Most High created, they will utilize those materials to make a god to bow down to, and say, and ask those gods, which are the works of their own hand, to deliver them when it was them that actually made them. So again, that was, a majority of the thought of the book of Isaiah chapter 44. So at this time, we're going to open it up for any questions that people may have that are watching, that are listening. We'll return it to Chief Uziel to moderate this portion of the discussion. So feel free to post any questions that you may have or any comments in regards to anything that we spoke about, or in anything overall. But we're going to focus on the things that we spoke about today in Isaiah chapter 44 verse, so in chapter 44 verse, and then get into other questions or comments.
Hallelujah. Thank you, Rabbi. So we do have a couple of questions here. The first question is from things they don't discuss in church. How could God be the first and the last, verse 6, when there is no beginning nor end with God?
So from the perspective of mankind, which has a beginning and an end, God is the first and the last. So a lot of things that the Most High God speaks about when he speaks to the children of Israel, speaking to mankind overall, is on a level that only mankind would be able to understand, because there's no comprehending the ways of the Most High. And this is something that we'll read later on in the book of Isaiah, where his thoughts are far beyond our thoughts. His ways are far beyond our ways, just like the heavens are far above the earth. That is comparison that is given. So from the perspective of mankind, who has a beginning and an end, that's how the Most High is just describing it to mankind. Because after we're gone, he's still going to exist. And then even after that, he's going to continue to exist after the next generation. So yes, there's technically no end to God himself, and he also has he wasn't created. But for mankind's minds, which is finite, first and last is all we can, conceive of.
Next question is from things they don't discuss in church. Does Cyrus' decree begin the 490-year timeline prophecy of Daniel 9 fulfilled by Yeshua?
It's not a beginning of the 490 year. Actually, we can in the future time do a breakdown of Daniel chapter 9. It's a portion within that time frame that Daniel was talking about, but it ended with the it really ended during the time of the Maccabees. So it wasn't an actual, I know some people do calculate a 490 years from Cyrus. So Cyrus would be about 439 BCE, somewhere around there. Sorry, 539, not 439, 539 BCE. I believe that's when his reign was. I'll double check and especially have that, because again, we'll speak about this more in detail when we have our next session and talk about Isaiah chapter 45. But from just recording it, I could be making a mistake. He's about 539 BCE. So even if doing a count of 490 years, what people again say is 490 years, it still wouldn't give an accurate time frame to the New Testament period. But the prophecy that was spoken in Daniel chapter 9 does contain the thought of Cyrus being the anointed prince, because we just read in Isaiah chapter 44 with the Most High anointed Cyrus to perform a particular duty, which was to give forth the word to rebuild the house of God or rebuild Jerusalem overall. And that process, he started, but again, you had the 70-year exile of the children of Israel that began first. Then at the end of those 70 years, then Cyrus gave the word. Then you had a period of time from when Cyrus gave the word to where you had later on where the Maccabees were able to rededicate the house of God. So the prophecy in Daniel chapter 9, as well as all of the prophecies that we read in Daniel chapters 7 through 12, are speaking about that, or speak about that period of time, or that end time during the reign of the Greeks, to where the Maccabees were able to go in and rededicate the house of God. So it would be more accurate to count it towards that time as opposed to counting it towards a New Testament period.
Yeah, that's it for questions. I don't see any more questions. Let me see here. Yeah, I don't see any more questions, Rabbi. It's a slow day today.
And I said, and just in the meantime, just to show, again, we'll do something separate on Daniel chapter 9, but just for the purpose of the question that was asked, to show that it wasn't counting from Cyrus, but actually before. This is Daniel chapter 9, after he made his prayer, and then he received an answer. And we're just going to, again, for the purpose of the question, starting verse 24 of Daniel chapter 9, 70 weeks are decreed upon thy people and upon thy holy city to finish the transgression and to make an end of sin and to forgive iniquity and to bring in everlasting righteousness and to seal vision and prophet and to anoint the most holy place. So again, there's going to be 70 weeks where, when we do the actual calculation, is 70 or 70 times 7, because you have a week of basically a week of not of days, but a week of years. And that's how you get the amount of years. Then verse 25 says, know therefore and discern that from the going forth of the word to restore and to build Jerusalem unto one anointed a prince shall be 7 weeks. And for 62 weeks it shall be built again with broad place and moat, but in troublous times. So the word went forth first to go build, and then there's going to be, it says, that know therefore and discern that from the going forth of the word to restore and to build Jerusalem unto one anointed a prince, which we can surmise is Cyrus, who's also mentioned as being anointed by God, a prince, shall be 7 weeks. So there's a period of time when the word went forth and it's counting up. And part of that word going forth, it counts up to Cyrus. And then after Cyrus gives the decree, then you have 62 weeks after that, where the house will be built, but in troublous times. And then it goes on from there again. And that would be a discussion for another time. But again, the counting is not actually beginning from Cyrus, but Cyrus, given the word, is actually part of those 70 weeks.
Okay. So since we have no more questions, I think we're going to have a short study today. Well, I have to run and do something anyway. You know what's going on at the place today, so I have to get going. Thank you all for joining us today. Thanking the Most High God, King of the universe, for the platform and for this, to be able to bring forth the word of God to the people. Before we go, we don't, charge for shows like this. We don't put them under any sort of restriction to where you have to pay to receive this word. Not knocking those that do, but over here we don't do that. So we do ask you for a donation. You can scan the QR codes to the left or to the right, and first being Cash App, and the other one being PayPal, and you could donate to us on any one of those two platforms. If you just know how to go directly to the app and don't know how to use your camera's phone to scan the QR codes, you could just go to Cash App money symbol BEIT D.C.B. And on PayPal, you could use our email address, which is info@beitdcb.org. You can also donate to us on Zelle at the same email address, info@beitdcb.org. So I do see here that there is one more question from things they don't discuss in church. Why is Isaiah 44:24, God said he makes all things all alone, but Genesis 1:26, he says, let us make man in our image?
So in the comparison to the two verses that were read, God makes everything by himself. Even in the book of Genesis, it says that, so we'll actually go to the book of Genesis. And then also in the explanation, this is just going to be also an interpretation, just putting that disclaimer out there first. So we're going to go to the book of Genesis, chapter 1, and the question focused on 26, where it says, and God said, let us make man in our image after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth. And God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female he created he them. So the conclusion of the matter, as they would say in the book of Ecclesiastes, is that based on verse 27, that God, as it would say in the singular, made man in his own image and in his own likeness, and he's the one that created male and female. The interpretation that I'm going to give, based on my interpretation and opinion, is when God is saying, let us make man in our image after our likeness, is that God is utilizing the materials of the earth itself, and he's speaking to the earth and encapsulating all of these materials, all of these minerals, the water, the ground itself. As we know in Genesis chapter 2, man was formed out of the dust of the earth. You have the human being, or the human body has the same composition of the earth itself. So this is God speaking to the materials that are before him, also speaking to the materials that are before him, also speaking, to every element and every influence that was utilized to be put into mankind: wisdom, understanding, knowledge. And so, in the same way that God had dominion over the entire heavens and the earth, God gave man dominion over just the earth and the creatures of the earth. So that would be the only semblance of a comparison when it comes to that dominion. But again, when God is saying, let us make man, he's speaking to all of the elements of the earth itself and everything that was utilized and everything that was available after creating everything from the first day to the sixth day to create the human body.
Hallelujah, Torah. Rabbi, for that answer, let me see. Torah Most High, good help. Binyamin family, I think that's so confusing for most people. That's the verse where people always wonder, who is our image? Who is our image?
Yeah, verse 27 sums it up, that it's still going to be the image of God alone. And God was the one that actually did the creating by himself.
Right. C. Cole. Shalom, Chief Uzi Alewi and Chief Rabbi Binyamin. I've never celebrated Thanksgiving and never will, but I'll be going into labor, but my baby will be with his great-grandma and she'll be celebrating. I don't know if you want...
So in regards to that, when it comes to family members and just surmising what the statement of the question about, when it comes to family members, of course, we care about them a lot, especially when we have the knowledge that the Most High has given us of himself, the wisdom that he's also imparted upon us and given us understanding. And we definitely want to share with our family and our friends. And, we get to a certain level of understanding to where we wean ourselves away from pagan ideals and, pagan thoughts, just as we read in, Isaiah chapter 44 today, and the prior chapters of Isaiah during the previous weeks, that we'll continue to read in the chapters after, that our focus should be in Jehovah God, and we would hope that our family and our friends would also get an understanding, the focus on Jehovah God. The only thing we can do in this time that we're living in is starting off with prayer to the Most High, that he would also enlighten our family and friends to the same understanding, or even a greater understanding that we have. We can't just think that we're just well off and better than everybody else. Just praying that the Most High gives those that we're in contact with even greater understanding of who he is, and also encouraging them through our words and our actions, being straightforward in our approach and our service to the Most High, not wavering, not bending. And that also is a way of showing people that we take this way of life serious. And it will cause the Most High to take us serious and hopefully hear our prayers on behalf of those that we also would like to come to this understanding. So it's basically starting off with prayer, and also through our actions and, showing a sign of force or a sign of strength, and just sticking to the word of the Most High.
She said, I cannot find someone who ain't really celebrating Thanksgiving, celebrating Thanksgiving. Should I let her go with her? Should I let him go with her?
It depends on how much authority you have. So overall, when it comes to children and grandchildren and so forth, it depends on how much authority, how much influence we have over them, especially living in the time that we're living in, and also in the country that we're living in. We may not have as much leeway as we want, but if you do have enough influence and authority, then you can always keep them with you. But if it's something that's beyond your control, then again, it's just a matter of prayer and just showing people that you're serious about this way of life.
I think in the situation that you're in, it seems like you're caught between a rock and a hard place, and there are really no other Israelites around you that you could take the baby to. So, hopefully, depending on how small the child is not something that they will clearly remember in terms of whatever celebration there is. Just pray to the Creator. I mean, you need somebody to watch the child unless you could bring the child to the hospital with you. So, and your due date could say Thanksgiving, but you could have the baby 2 weeks before, 2 weeks after, or somewhere in between, unless they're telling you that this is the day we're going to induce labor and bring the baby out. So those are things that you also have to consider, that the baby could come at any time between 2 weeks before, 2 weeks after the due date. So just keep as they say, keep your fingers crossed, and hope that the baby doesn't come on the due date. Most babies never really come on the due date anyway. So that's just a guesstimated time and period that they give you in order for you to be prepared around that time and not to be too surprised. So in terms of that, yeah, that's all you have to do. And if it's something in terms of them having to bring the actual child out on that day, it's a scheduled day for a C-section, an induced labor, or whatever it might be, then you just, you pray to the Most High God and you do the best thing possible, because at the end of the day, when it comes to children, you don't want to take your children. You might be thinking about, my grandmother's a Christian, my great-grandmother's a Christian, but at the time, your grandmother, your great-grandmother might be the best option because they actually love their children despite, them being Christians, right? So my children go to my mother, and my mother is a reverend at a church, but I've been living this way of life since I was 13, and my mother respects my way of life, and she doesn't buy my kids Christmas presents. She understand not to Thanksgiving. They never been to a Thanksgiving dinner. They never received, none of my children, from the oldest to the youngest, never received a Christmas or Xmas present while they were, under me. And I believe to this point, never received some sort of anything. No, for their birthdays. My Ima goes above and beyond. We usually give out gifts during Purim, and that's when that's when they take the opportunity to do what they do or whatever. But never had that problem with my Ima, with my aunts, anything like that. So where there's a will, there's a way. All right, there's a will, there's a way. So let me see. Does the Bible say we're not supposed to celebrate secular holidays? Example, Martin Luther King Day.
So we're not going to find a verse that specifically says secular holidays, but the Most High warns us, or actually commands us, against pagan worship or any observances that are connected to foreign gods. So via that, that's why we refrain from what we would know today as secular holidays, because a majority of the secular holidays do have some deity connection with it. Even something as simple as, people think simple as Thanksgiving, but when you think about the history of Thanksgiving in terms of America, because various countries will have, Canada has a Thanksgiving that is not the same as the one in the United States. And when you think about how Thanksgiving was instituted in the United States specifically, it would be connected to a foreign god in that respect. So we have to focus on the origins of the holidays and see their connection if or if not, with paganism, and that's how we learn how to proceed in regards to observances. So, we won't find a specific verse that says do not observe secular holidays, but we do read a lot of verses where we're commanded against pagan or foreign worship.
Shalom, Mishpaka. Yeah, so thanking the Most High God once again for life, food, clothing, and shelter, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. The reason why I said about, where you take your children to, most of the times I say, people are not going to endanger or are going to put their own generations that come forward in danger. But sometimes you try to trust someone that you don't really know because you think that they're doing, so, people still have to work out their own things. You don't know how people are with children. Your children might be a little bit more hyperactive than others, right? So you have to be careful to, like, whom you bring your children to. It has to be a proven person that that you understand, you grew up with, that that you've seen them deal with children, and things like that. Sometimes your family is not the best person to bring your children to, so it could work the other way. So that's why I was saying what I was saying. I know, some of us have a certain mentality with certain things, but for most part, grandparents and great-grandparents wouldn't put their grandchildren or great-grandchildren in harm's way or do anything to jeopardize seeing they children or great-grandchildren, right? Now, you do have some grandparents that try to that don't respect children's wishes and do what they want to do. Now, that's a different thing. That's where you have to be careful, and that's where you have to put your foot down and be there with your children. I won't tell, because you do have grandparents like that. They don't respect the children or what the children have to say, and when they over by me, I give them what I want to give them, and when it gets like that, then it becomes a problem, especially if they're not keeping Torah, right? So that's a whole different thing. But you do have a lot of parents and grandparents that will stick to the rules because they don't want to jeopardize whatever it is that they have with their grandchildren, and they respect you. That's a sign that they actually respect you and what you are into. And I'm speaking from experience. I'm not speaking from I've been doing this way of life for 30 some odd years. Since I was 13, I've had children in this way of life, and I've had my aunt who's a Christian, my mother who's like I said, she's a reverend, and she never disrespects my authority with my children and what I want. And my children have spent the night. They've done all that, right? Around Xmas time or whatever. My mother would even go as far not putting up an Xmas tree. I mean, she goes above and beyond. Different pots. So they have parents out there so that she could say that she cooked for her grandchildren. Different pots. Buys organic stuff, buys stuff to where almost her whole way of eating is the way we eat, so that she doesn't jeopardize that relationship. So I know that my mother is not the only mother out there that went above and beyond and did that, right? And and by the way, another caveat: my mother's favorite teacher is Rabbi Chief Binyamin. I tell her that you come over to our channel and steal all of our material so you could go over on Sunday mornings and teach it. And she starts to laugh. So, I mean, me and my mother have a great relationship. I love her, but she respects and she understands what I'm about. So, yeah, every relationship is not bad. And I went into something totally different, but I just had to get that out. Forefathers, a chosen people. Shalom. Shalom. Can you explain new moon and why the calendar dates of the feasts are different upon camps? For example, Feast of Trumpet being this past week, but the calendar says October 3rd.
So in regards to calendar issues, the reason why there's going to be different calendar dates for the holy days that we read about in Leviticus chapter 23 and Numbers chapters 28, 29, and Deuteronomy chapter 16 is the same reason we have differences of thoughts in a lot of things that we read about in scriptures. So as we are all on the path of returning to the Most High, and this is one of the purposes of the Bible study, of this Bible study in particular, but as we're returning to the Most High, we're trying to pray, number one, that the Most High gives us the true understanding, gives us one understanding so that we can serve him together. But again, the reason why there's differences of observances on different dates, the same reason there's differences in a variety of things that we do, is various interpretations of what we read amongst various congregations, various leaderships of congregations, various teachers of congregations. Even within congregations, there are going to be differences of opinions and interpretations. So it's all, part of that same package of different interpretation and understanding. But the thought overall should be amongst all is to get on the right path and get on the one true path with the Most High. So, hopefully soon, we know it definitely will, but hopefully it will be soon that the Most High would help us all to come together to one accord in how we observe, not just the holy days, but how we observe all of the commandments.
Hallelujah. A lot of people didn't keep the leap year of Adar 2nd. If you don't keep that leap month, things will, well, I guess you explained it already, Rabbi, but things will come in out of season. So you have to make an adjustment in the calendar in order for things to fall into season, because Abib is still Abib. It's still an ingathering. Certain harvests got to come in around that time. Feast of Weeks, certain harvest has to come in around that time. And then Sukkot, certain harvest has to come in around that time. So as I was closing out before, I guess this show became a regular length show. Thank you all for listening. Like I said earlier, if you would like to donate, you can make your donations out to us on Cash App and on PayPal. You could scan the QR codes and it will take you to the respective apps. You can also, if you don't know how to use that, money symbol, BEIT D.C.B, that's for Cash App, and info@baitdcb.org, that's PayPal, or also you could donate to us on Zelle at the same email address, info@baitdcb.org. You can also donate to us by pressing the money symbol icon right next to the chat box where you type in the chat. So thank you all for listening. We pray that the Most High God, creator of heaven and earth, will continue to be with us, bless and protect us as I say these words. I pray that the creator of heaven and earth will bless us all. Yevareka Yehovah Yishmareka, Ya'ir Yehovah Panawaleka Wikuneka, Isa Yehovah Panawaleka Wayasemlaka Shalom. May Yehovah bless thee and keep thee. May Yehovah make his face to shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. May Yehovah lift up his countenance upon thee and may he grant thee peace. Amen. Shalom, shalom. Things they don't discuss in church, he waits to the very last minute when he see we wrapping up, and then he sends his questions. I thought that Thanksgiving had to do with Columbus giving thanks for the land he conquered. What's the connection to pagan gods?
Columbus Day and Thanksgiving are two separate. The Pilgrims are the ones that slash Puritans. Well, not slash, they're not the same actually. But the Pilgrims are the ones that, from what we know in U.S. history, are responsible for Thanksgiving, and so that would be the United States. Columbus Day, of course, is representative of Christopher Columbus, who was said to have discovered America. So that would just be beyond the United States. So yeah, one is, again, specific for Columbus, Christopher Columbus, as quote unquote discovering the New World, basically the Caribbean and a portion of what it became the United States later on, while Thanksgiving is specific to the Pilgrims and their sojourn to the northern part of what we know as the United States. But in terms of the pagan aspect for both of them, there is actually more when we think about Thanksgiving and the Pilgrims, and again, what they were thinking about or who they were thinking about when that holiday eventually became instituted. Columbus Day, the refraining from that day is basically going to be for a different reason, because of, and primary because, and that's why it is known today as Indigenous Day, because of the slaughter that of the indigenous people that came with Christopher Columbus. So it's not a day to honor because it's basically disrespectful to those that lost their lives via him. So that's just a short answer after this, as the blessing was already mentioned.
Hallelujah. Thank you. Thank you, y'all, for tuning in. May the Most High God bless you all. Thank you, Naomi Bat Yisrael, for your donation and for your contribution. We appreciate it. May the Most High God bless you. And shalom, shalom to everyone out there. May the Most High God bless you all. Hallelujah.
Let's get knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, His laws and commandments. The CHOKMAH BINAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the leaders. Yeah, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, His laws and commandments. The CHOKMAH BINAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the leaders. Yeah.